here we are. This may actually be the third video of this draw, where I put one up thinking it was around the halfway point and it was rather rich. I saw them out 1.6, which doesn't really make sense. 1 and 2 should have been the first set, 3 and 4 the second set, 5 and 6 the third set. But you know, these videos are getting ridiculously long. I saw 1.5 was like 3 hours or something. So, on to the Austrians. In this period, things have switched very heavily. Spain is doing very well with the vassalization of Aragon, the Burgundian alliance going in their direction instead of Austria's. Well, England was the only other one in competition for it. And now we're on the pole, the Austrians, and trying to decide how to deal with these marriage crisis of the Bohemian Hungarian crown. Now, I've decided to go forward with an attack. However, I'm going to fire off a trade action. I've already spent this thing in order to see if I can get a couple extra bucks. A couple of cards which might work. Adriatic Sea, Venice and Ragusa. I don't think I have either. No, that's Crane. Just trying to see. Ragusa's down here. Okay. So that would be a $5 collection on glass. And then wine here, we have two choices. I'm sorry. That might be more than two. I've got two there. Is that it? Yeah. Oh, Genoa. No, I don't have Genoa because I don't have a boat that'll get me there. I thought I had Genoa. So, Saxony. Frankfurt, no. Nuremberg, probably not. Prague, not yet. And the Falls, no. So I'd be looking at one there. That's only a $4. So I'll do this one and grab my $5 for this merchant. What I would have liked is whatever this is, Vienna. But yeah. And on the other hand is trying to reduce their costs in terms of prestige. So they buy themselves an alliance with the Bohemians. This means that they can allow the royal marriage there to be no problem. However, we're still going to pay a cost for ignoring the Hungarian marriage, which sucks. One reason you don't want to pass is an event like that could trigger and cost you heavily in a position where you can no longer, act to do anything about it. So that whole dynamic about, like, do you pass or not? Turkey, who still has an event left. Turkey has the revolutionary idea here, which is a great card. It gives me a prestige if I do it correctly. It'll cost me 2 admin, which I have. And then I could either take admin or military, where I have to spend 2. Oh, I don't have, no. I couldn't do this before. I still can't do it. Don't have the stability. Okay. And I don't have the diplomacy to do the subjugate. I could reorganize and subjugate whatever this is, Karaman, something like that. I could get away with that. What other options do I have? I could solve my crisis over there. Not really having a lot of other options here. I've got the event, and I could kind of close out the turn, but I don't want to do that quite yet. I think I'll just solve my military issue here. And move the boat forward. I like it when they're easy. This wasn't that hard. I had a few choices. They were all obvious, and none of them felt like, oh, I screwed up earlier in the turn. French are going to clear up their rebellions. That they feel is the most important thing. And the man of the church might be cool and all, but I think it's more important. And we're gonna, do we have a general kicking around? Probably not. We're gonna grab ourselves, what about the military? We could do a military education instead, which would give us a general for free, for just that one, from the military discards. That might be really powerful. We have a good general, but let me look through and see if instead I want to do this and prep my army, because I have enough force to move my army into Burgundy and then into Languedoc with 2 cubes and clear out some of that problem. It's an interesting point in the game. Let me make sure I'm not getting somebody who's going to get sick right away. We're going to take General John, or Jean, and that allows me to get rid of a cube off of here. And it's having a hard time doing that. This is an actual action. It's not like a freebie or anything, even though I'm putting a general in place. It's the military education aspect. But it's a better general than I would get otherwise. It doesn't risk killing my king. I don't want to end up without a king. And gets the cube out of the way. And in particular right now, what's advantageous is there's a lot of discards in the pile. This is kind of a weird thing, right? There's this, there's going to be this weird kind of cycle in terms of, hey, how are the different decks, how many discards are there of each deck before you make that kind of decision? Of course, you can look through the discards to make the decision first. But it is kind of odd that, like, at the beginning of the game, this capability gives you nothing. You know, the thing I just did, it gives you nothing whatsoever. And if the military deck's been reshuffled a number of times, if it's been reshuffled recently, that tends to have the better generals in it. The trade one has some good artillery people in it, but I've only got 1 horse and 1 cannon, so, you know, those things are really expensive to get right now. So yeah, I'm gonna do that and push this forward. That means, because I was doing something military anyway, the Spanish are gonna get their chance to do their crusade. Do other things. I'm really worried about the crusade because here's the thing, I don't have much of an army, I don't have a navy. I mean, I have one that can carry that crappy little army over, but I'm just not in that good a shape. I have the military reforms, which could give me some more dice, but I still don't have a very big army, and I'm going to be facing something. 2 is the smallest I can face. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be 2 if I landed here, and then 3. But it's hard to get that complete victory, especially this late in the turn. Although I do have a fair number of cubes, other players might start passing, and then I'm in trouble. Of course, then I shouldn't delay, right? But I want to do the commercial growth. Get some cubes out of the way, get some money paid. And the question there is, small town or big town? Big town or a trade bonus? But a trade bonus in Genoa, it's not going to get me money right away. And I probably want to use my diplomacy for the crusade if I'm doing it. So I'm going to up a town instead. I'm going to up Murcia. That gives me more naval power in the Mediterranean. And seems good overall, I say, without being able to look enough in the future to see, hey, did I just fuck myself over? Because, of course I did. But, you know, again, it's okay if I'm making decisions like this. I'm really lukewarm on this crusade idea. Over the options with the English, I got all these military cubes. I feel like I got to start spending some of them. I'm actually at 489, so, you know, I can't even grow if I get them. Of course, yeah, I have a huge military bonus there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cure my unrest with 3 of them. Now this starts to get rid of some of my advantages that I have over the French, though, and make them more of a problem for me, but that's okay. Turning everything to face this side of the board. One of the things that was a consideration here was the Admiralty card. I went and looked at my further missions. It's a lot of money and a lot of effort to put things into play for that. I would rather get my economy churning along. Eventually that'll get me into, like if I'm in a situation where I can take free trade or something, that would be valuable. Another thing I might do is just research. You know, get myself the Janissaries. Otherwise, I'm at a big disadvantage against the French. That's a lot of cubes, though. I would rather wait until the French pass before I do that. I was going to declare war. I'm trying to decide. Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether or not to do an increased manpower, get a couple extra units, because there is no limit on the size of your armies in this game. Now, that's really weird, because one of the things that really differentiates the power capabilities of the different nations is the size of their military forces at different technologies in the old EU. Nothing like that exists here. Now, I can understand with the more flexible design that the computer game took, why that's not the case. Why they, especially later in the game. But I don't think there was a force limit. Maybe I'm mistaken in the original, which again is kind of odd. Now, do I need these cubes? I was just about to drop a declaration of war on Hungary. My goal being to resolve this marriage thing, although, you know, the best case scenario would be that I can just wipe them out. But I clearly don't have enough cubes for that. Although military victories can get me something, I'm not going to have the siege capacity, right? But I don't need it. I just need a partial victory. And a partial victory is very easy to get to clear up this problem. So I don't think I have a cube to spare. I think that's the problem here. So I'll throw this down here. It doesn't cost me anything. There's a disputed succession. I've got claims to their territory. I got all kind of sweet stuff to do. And I will build my army. That's this guy. Now, I'm building 7 units. I don't think I get any Imperial units here. It's outside the empire that I'm declaring war, among other things, other than the ones that I already have. So what do I have here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can actually build it here, which is cool. Austria is not a very big area right now. So I build that. I'm going to drop my my Royal General in place. He only gets me 1 fucking die. Do I have a king to replace him if he dies? No. And I don't have a general or anything else to use there instead. So I think that'll work. For the minor actions, I may have fucked something up earlier. I don't know if anybody did an offensive alliance. I know I've considered them, but there is a cost to call to arms that's listed, and I believe that only applies to the offensive. Yeah, if you're doing an offensive CTA, you have to discard 2 cubes from areas of the NPR you want to call. So, yeah, so it's either 0 or 2. It's not 0, 2, 2. Just looking what else I might want to do. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I want to do with the polls here, if anything. Pass is becoming an option here, because I've got a little bit of admin power. Now, again, I could reorganize. Does a royal marriage do me any good? Do I have all the royal marriages on the board? This is hard to see. Yeah, the only one I have left is that, so I can't even do a royal marriage. Gerhard would add some cubes for $4. That's not a bad choice. I'd have a king in hand, maybe, kind of. Central authority. You could blow that to get rid of this card and draw a couple of cards. I kind of like the idea of keeping the increased stability in play, though, available for me, though. I'd love to do that, and getting it a little cheaper makes sense. That cube isn't costing me much. It's this fucking one. Can I get rid of some of this shit? Target opponent and roll rubble dice. Somebody I want to fuck with? No. I could roll a die on the Austrians, yeah. So discontent. Like, I just don't feel... Oh, wait! I got a war. Fuck me. Yeah. I got to deal with these issues that I have all over me. Okay. So, guess that's what we have to do. So yeah, we take a cube over here into the bone space and move a cube over. And I guess raise what army we can. I'm really not happy. I'm not in good shape at all here. Fucking hell. I have a shitty general. I can use my king. Oh. Alright, I guess I raise an army. This is a 2, 3, 4. I think I can call on vassal forces. 5, 6. So I could raise up to 6. I don't have that many. Okay. I do not do this, but I am allowed to discard cards and do shit with them. Lots of dice. If I discard both my cards, I can get one. That might help me. Problem is, if I draw a military card, that gives me... It's going to cost military power or troops or money if it's a general. So I'm going to actually draw myself one of these. Revolutionary ideas. Research an idea. Okay. Could be useful, but also could not. I don't know. All right. On to the Turks. Every time I mention the Turks, I'm reminded of this scene at a bar. This was back when I was in college. Had to be first year, to tell you the truth, and given the people I was with. A roommate and his girlfriend of a buddy of a couple of buddies of mine, semi-roommate. They shared a bathroom and had separate rooms. There were 2 people per room in that area. We had all gone out to the bar together, and there was this guy with like a football jersey or something on that said Turk across the back. And this girl, the girlfriend of this roommate, was just like, "Hey, Turk!" And then wait. And when he looked over, after he looked over and looked away, like, she wouldn't say it quite loud enough that he could really hear it, but it probably was kind of catching him. And then she'd be like, "You're a jerk." It just kept doing this, and I'm like, "You're gonna get us in a fucking fight." The idiots. Anyway, onward. And I think the Turks are gonna spend a cube on one of these to get the increased manpower bonus. That refreshes up to 6 armies. We don't care about that, but we get an extra army available. And maybe most importantly, we get to play with a cube and get it moved over. Okay, and again, the French are looking at the man of the church as less important than playing out their problems or trying to resolve their problems. So I play a cube to move into Burgundy, where we have a fight. I got a general with 3 extra dice. I have all kind of technologies. I have cav and artillery that I can count. And we have 2 infantry and a cav. That's going to be 3 hits. That's sufficient. I don't want to spend because it's not good to spend. Oh, harsh. Okay. So that's 3 hits on the French army. I guess I'll take the cav because the artillery is just generally more useful. I get a wound, if I can remember where they are, on my general. And I succeed in clearing this. Now, I think I get a cube no matter what for battles, but maybe it's only against something. I think I get a cube for successful fighting, but even against rebels. I hope so. At least for my sake. If the active player is victorious in a battle, this plays not battles versus these, but in the peace and rebels phase. So, yeah, I do get a cube back. So I get to continue my attack, but this is problematic. Now, I believe one of the land functions, may be wrong, military capacity. Yeah, that's the mustering. I believe activate units can do, no. So I've got a problem. Naval movement allows me to pull my navies together for a fight. But that kind of coordination is not allowed in land combat. And I'm left with, 2 cubes. I can move and consolidate my army and then attack. Or I could build more troops and then attack. Or I could take a risky attack. Got a lot of options in play. None of them are really good. But I want to clear my unrest problem. Poor Poland. Boy, do they have a problem. Spain would love to build a heavy ship, but they cost $10. Light ships only cost 4. So I'm going to spend a cube. Build a light ship. Put that in the Western Med. That's $4. Build some soldiers. I can build 3 more for $6. Galleys only cost 2. If I build a galley over at Gibraltar, now this looks kind of weird. This looks almost like an occupation when it's not. It's really that Portugal has kind of gained a claim to that area, which is a little weird. $2, I'm going to build myself a galley. I'll put that here. Building this out of Gibraltar. I'll put this in the Med. I can gather my forces together if need be. I do not have anybody who's terribly useful as an admiral. Adding 2 horses isn't going to help. So we'll call that a wash there. Playing for time still. Now, I could pass, and that would mean France can't attack me. I'm not that worried about France attacking me, though. Their army's been wiped out, largely. They don't have a lot of military cubes. They have a lot of money. They could put a war down on me and put a smackdown on me. But I still have a whole bunch of cubes, including some military cubes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do another trade action with an eye towards possibly attacking the Spaniards here. This is far from Spain's capabilities. Spain's up to something, but I don't think it has anything to do with that over there. And honestly, they should be using their cubes to solve their problem, not to build up this Crusader force. Lousy draw and get a crappy $2 for all my effort. So the Polish army is on the move. Or sorry, the Austrian army is on the move. I go into Royal Hungary, where I will be facing a lot. 3, 4, 5. Wow, there's not much there. 6, 7. A 7-point army. Oops. I thought I was going to be pretty big. Let's set them up here. Standing up. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more. Now I get a general, because these aren't rebels. This is an NPR. I don't remember how I get a general. Do I just draw from the military deck? Oh. Battle preparation. Final chance. Okay, this isn't handled there. It's handled under NPRs somewhere or another, I think. Warfare defending. Fuck. NPR behavior. 3 or more units draw a card from the military deck at the start of the battle. Okay. I thought that's what it would be, but it is not a general, so I get kind of lucky on that. This is an ugly fight, and I kind of only have to win once, and I'm okay. So maybe I don't want... I don't know. Maybe I want to do 4 more battle dice of my choice in the battle, which will be infantry dice. I might be limited by countermix, though. Okay. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think so. But that would be too problematic, I think. Okay. So I'm attacking. I have a general. I need to win this battle because I need to be positioned there at the end of the turn. So I'm going to spend this cube to get myself 4 more battle dice. So I have a total of 3, 4, 8 dice. And do I have any technology? I have Janissaries. So I get 5 hits. There's 2 more dice. 6 hits. That's pretty hefty. My enemy gets a grand total of 3 dice, which cause me no damage. He retreats. Oh, I gotta deal with this though. Fuck. I don't know how that's gonna work. Beyond the first round, they always retreat if they have fewer units in any round unless the area they're currently defending is their capital, or the last area where they control provinces. If the NPR retreats, you remove their units from the board. And we have succeeded in winning the battle, which means we get a cube. So we can undertake a siege or continue on. There's no real supply, which I don't know how much sense that makes. At this point in warfare, it kind of does. Through most of the game, it kind of does. But once you get to certain eras where armies are expected to be maintaining a supply line, it becomes a little bit more iffy. But the areas are so abstract and everything. I mean, think about Napoleonic era. You really need supply lines for that, right? Sure, there's an attrition card, and but that's so unlikely. It's, an event that comes up that just impacts stuff at that moment. Oh, let's not forget the polls completely. They haven't passed yet. Reorg gave them something to do. They have a revolutionary idea. They have good stability. I'm going to spend my 2 to fire that off, and I am going to research military at the cost of 2. Cannons or janissaries? I mean, I could take military drill, but I could, couldn't I? Huh. See, the nice thing about military drill is I would be the second person, so I'd get some prestige off of the third person playing there. But if I take one of these, I don't give any prestige. Doesn't really matter. Let's pick one. Cannons gives me a cannon. I don't have a fucking army. That's pretty harsh. I don't know. Oh shit, I don't want to do this. Did I lose already? Yeah, I think I lost a battle already, and that's the problem. I must have. Because I have I don't know. Let me refigure this. I'm lost again. This was 2 in central authority, 2 in the military. I think I did the reorg. Yeah, I did the reorg to deal with this shit. All right, I'm in trouble. Sure. Okay, so I will build an army instead. And I'm probably going to have to take out a loan to build this army. Interesting options here. One, I could work towards using this subjugation, which is what I feel like I've been doing here. In order to do that, I would need to reorg. Okay. And I have enough cubes, I could vassalize this. Then I could launch a war after that. But I don't have... See, here's the thing. I have a claim here and an alliance here. This is the guy I can vassalize. I don't really have a claim to go to war against any of these. But I do have a claim to go to war against the Mamluks. But I don't really have the army to go to war against the Mamluks. La 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 la. I can dismantle my fleet. Not much I can do. I don't know where. Where are the boats supposed to go? Oh, they go in this big thing. What the hell? Oh well. All right. I don't really have a fleet to launch the war. So I think the vassalization is my best move. So let us spend a cube, or take a cube here. Move this. Do I move a military over there too? I got a good general. I don't have a great diplomat. I have some diplomatic capabilities, right? I have tolerance. I don't have the benign diplomats. I would like them. They would give me some advantages. So I moved one. The real question is, do I want to move my military in there? You know, my diplomacy is low. I'm going to just do that. Is there a card I want to get rid of? I need the subjugate, because that's what I'm going to do. Revolutionary ideas. I really like it. I'll hold off. He's a general. He can work with something. I'm going to leave things as they are. Move this over. I think what the French are going to do is look for their general, which I'm having trouble finding the little circle for their king. Oops. That's him. Okay, and put him in charge of this army. Spend a cube and march into Avignon, where, what do we get? We get 2 extra dice, and we have janissaries. We have cannons, which aren't going to help us, but we have janissaries, which do help. So we're going to have 5 dice. Only 2 hits possible, but that's all we need. We get them easily. And our enemy, we do not have military drill. Only the Turks have that. Our enemy does hit us twice, which is kind of sucky because that destroys the army. But not enough hits to hurt the general. However, that doesn't count as a success, so we don't get a cube back. We do get our army back. Yay! And we have solved the problem for now. Oh boy. It has to decide who they want to call a crusade on, is basically what it comes down to. Don't need no stinking claims. Select a target area that has at least 2 provinces owned by a Muslim and place the crusade token. You can declare war targeting any Muslim realms with provinces. So here's the thing. If I fight here, I'm going to be fighting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 armies. However, I believe only 1 navy would inject itself here. If I fight over here, I gotta check. I believe its navy's just adjacent to the sea zone. Its port's just adjacent to the sea zone that count. I don't know how I'm going to find that out. If I attack just Algeria, it's 2 and 2. Okay. Not great. If I fight just Tunisia, it's 5. This doesn't count yet. And 2. I can get the 4 or more off of Morocco. So I think I'm going to declare war on Morocco. It is the hardest single thing to attack, although if I attacked Algiers and Tunisia together, they would be as bad on land. It's the hardest single thing to attack, but it gives me the possibility of the 3 or more provinces that I could grab, which is appealing. I wonder what this little thing is. That looks like gold. Bet it is, because that's Marrakech. I don't remember how gold works. It works through the trade mechanism. But yeah. And causes inflationary problems and such not, which it should. So, okay. I'm going to spend my 2 diplomacy. Is this how I want to do it? Is this how I want to do it? I got the innovative tactics if I want them. I would rather do the increased manpower, but not right now. I've got the siege assault, which allows me to siege multiple areas at once. That's really appealing. So, yeah. 2 diplomacy to call a crusade. And we got to find the crusade chit. Okay. I have some serious battery problems. My battery charger wasn't charging. I put the new one in the other camera, and then the third extra one was empty, which maybe it just didn't get swapped in and out the way they should. Okay, so I select a target area that has at least 2 provinces. There we go, Crusade. Owned by the Muslim realms, and place the Crusade token there. I paid my cost, right, too. You may immediately make a free declare war action targeting any Muslim realms with provinces in the target area to gain. Fez is our capital. This is problematic. We can't take Fez without wiping them out completely, but okay. And to gain, you may immediately take declare war to gain 1 prestige. Yay! And 2 mercenary infantry units for free. I think these units actually show up in my army. They're mercenaries. I don't have room to carry them. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, I do. I have 9 capacity there. I'll swoop these in as light ships. Huh. Interesting. Okay. If you do so, tag the committed to crusade slot on the status mark, on the status track. It'll be up here. We'll see if I succeed. Committed to crusade. Okay. Don't know what the costs are here, but feels like the right thing to do, man. The Crusade token provides a holy war casus belli for all Catholic realms against Muslim realms that own a province in that area. If you use this on a valid target while taking a declare war action, tag yourself to committed to Crusade. Multiple players can be committed to the Crusade. Crusade scoring. Catholic realms that are committed each score 2 if they have any units in the target area and there were no provinces owned by the Muslim realms left there. Oh, that's not going to be easy. Because Fez. Huh. Oh well. We'll lose our 2 prestige that we just gained. If no realm is committed to Crusade at this point, the papal controller loses 2. Well, that's fine. What could be interesting is if you thought if you were going to lose the papacy, maybe there's a death or something that is going to affect you. You could like engineer it to somebody else so that you get points and somebody else loses points for it. Just nastiness. You won't get points actually. So I only gain 1. I'm going to lose a prestige out of this. Well, who knows? Maybe I conquer all of Morocco. It's possible. Okay, that's the declaration of war. Now the actual attack. Now let me make sure that they don't get a second ship here. How do I find that out? Again, I don't know. My feeling is it's going to be warfare versus NPR, defending sea zones. They engage you with a number of light ships equal to their NC. Okay, it's the NC I want to know. That's page 23. Naval capacity equal to the number of ports they own that face that sea zone. This value determines how many ships the PR can place into a sea zone during recruit actions. Inactive ports do not count. Okay, so, and this may be an inactive port. I think that's what the blue means, but I'm not positive. God, I can't fucking tell. So we're looking at one ship, which I have to fight. I do not have an admiral. I am not assigning an admiral. I will be assigning a general. This is not a naval move, is it? You know, this is not an anything yet. It could be a naval move. Okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for ship dice. Okay, so I have 3 ships, all of which roll dice. Or I roll dice for them. I will get a hit against them, and they get 3 dice as well. They're looking for a single cannon. That's all they can do to me is 1. I will take a galley for that, because galleys are cheap. And now I don't have as much force as I would like. I can only cross with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll leave 2 armies behind. I can leave them there. I will assign my general. I could spend a military pip for this, but he's not as good as good old King Louis of Spain. I want to take my mercenaries because they suck, and I will land here. Now I'm facing a land battle, and I'm going to have some orange dice there, where I'm facing a rather large force. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be painful. That's 6 there. Ah, I won a battle. I get a cube, which I'm going to need because this is a huge, huge war compared to, well, compared to most of what I've dealt with. So I've got 3 white dice and I believe 3 orange dice. I've got technology of cannons is the only special thing I have. Great, I got these horsey dice and no horsies. Oh, general. Yeah, we get a general. We're gonna need those blue dice. Again, not much help. I think I rolled these. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. I've got that many armies. So this is what I've knocked out. But simultaneously, no technology that reduces his dice. He gets these 6 dice. Because he's got 3 dice for Robert, the general in Morocco. And he gets 2 hits on me. I don't think I'm allowed to take the mercenaries. I think I have to alternate between them. That is a victory, but it's my second victory of the round, so I don't get any cubes off of it. So we're here. We've landed. This goes away. Let's get rid of the excess colored dice. And I believe our buddies, the Spaniards, have started their crusade. I can't play this immediately, right? Hey, it is. Pick an army to immediately siege provinces with a tax value up to its siege strength. So I have siege of 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go for a 4. That's an extra cube. It's speeding things up. I would have to spend a lot of cubes to do the attack otherwise. Now,
Roll artillery dice equal to the tax value of all siege province and take a casualty for each cannon. Siege fails if no units remain. This is going to be 4 artillery dice. There's definite pain to this. This is an assault, or mini assaults. I got 1 hit so far. 2 hits. That's going to weaken my capacity a little bit, but I've just succeeded and have 4 territories, 4 provinces that I just grabbed temporarily at least. There we are there. Oh boy, do I have battery problems. This one's running down too. Again, I keep probably swapping the same one in. I'm going to want to move forward into here and launch attacks there too, but right now my capacity is rather weak, so I'm going to want more troops. Now, I have more troops here, which I could do a move to get into play, or I could recruit more troops. That'll cost me money, but I feel like I have enough cubes to do this entirely and actually conquer all of Morocco and take it over. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Not the result I was expecting off of this. However, it's England's turn. They have a fistful of cubes, a claim on Spanish territory, and I think they smell an opportunity to achieve one of their goals. This is turning out to be one hell of an interesting turn, or rounds, or whatever it's called. But yeah, things are really shaping into something interesting. Does England want to take advantage of its situation? As my battery situation seems to be improving a little bit, and I'm doing laundry. Sent me into an emotional turmoil, but you know, there we have it. Fair amount of money, lots of cubes, all set for everything. But how do we do this best? Because if we build armies here, we can only get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units built there. That may be good enough. We won't generate any fights. This isn't an NPR, so if there's no player army in play, that's not going to generate an immediate fight. Which I think means we can build the army immediately in Flanders. Let me look. Not absolutely positive about anything ever in this game. If no battles, you may immediately take and activate units or recruit units. So we look for recruit units. Pay 1 military in the record to recruit as many and build as many ships. Units may be placed directly on the board. If you recruit units in areas containing enemy units or hostile NPR procedures. So yeah, I could recruit right there. It won't create a fight. I won't get a cube for it or anything, but I think that's probably my best action. Otherwise, I have to worry about shifting my navy down. Now, I look over and I see the Spanish have, you know, a couple of ships. I probably want to buy a ship too. Just because, yeah, the Spanish Navy could make its way up and start causing us problems otherwise. And the Spanish Navy has to move up in order to do anything militarily, although we got a border with Spain. We also have another issue, which is we can make a call to arms. I don't think we want to. Here's why. We have to defend Portugal if we do that. Adding Portugal to it seems like a great idea, right? put some additional pressure on the Spaniards here. We'll be able to win up there. All great and good, right? Yeah, except for if we do call them in, first of all, there's a cost. There's the 2 cube cost, which would be our 2 cubes in Portugal. And then, let's look at declaring war. Call to arms. Okay, we're going to have to find the call to arms. Well, here. May not declare war. There's a whole sequence here. Page 32 is the call to arms, but I thought there was a whole sequence of what happens with a declaration of war, but it doesn't appear to be there. Maybe in the declaration of war action, as opposed to the rule, just to make things wonderfully painful. Okay. Call to arms. An ally may send you an offensive when they declare war. You must immediately accepting a CTA. Do we have... Okay. When you activate an NPR due to a CTA, flip the thing to active ally and immediately add a number of allied units equal to half the tax value of the NPR's provinces to your available forces. When accepting a CTA from an NPR ally, you can choose whether or not to activate it. Those troops will be mine to recruit. Now, I believe I'm able to recruit them in the ally. As if they're my own units. Yeah, you're allowed to recruit a number of allied units in areas of your active allies up to their MC for the chosen area. The idea of it's going to be half the value. It's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, actually, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there would be a 3-unit army created there. If I look at the Spanish deployed forces, they're not that big. I can also look at their tiles here. They have a few military things, etc. I just don't think it's going to help me, right? I think all it's going to do is create a possibility for Portugal to lose territory, and I'd really rather not have that happen. The only thing it might help me with is preventing an invasion of Aquitaine by the Spaniards, which is possible. But I think the Spaniards don't have enough oomph left in their 3 cubes to prosecute this war. And I think I get away with it for free. So what was I going to do? I was going to declare war. That cost me a cube. Extra cube flying over. You got to be careful. That's going to create a war with Madrid, and I believe, because this is a player versus player war, something goes here because they flip over to become truces. We looked this up, and I don't remember what happened with it. Now I build my army. I have kind of shitty king and no general. So Henry the Seventh. Well, do we want that extra die or no? Fuck it. He's not facing an opponent. Screw him. So we'll put Henry the Seventh up here, and we will build him what we can, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 10-buck army. We can easily do that. When I counted these, we were above 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, not above 10, above 5. They're $2 each. Now, I want to build another navy, another ship. Another light ship, I guess. They cost 4 each. I can't build galleys here. Or do I want to take out a loan and get a heavy ship? Heavy ships are really potent in combat, but they're not usable in trade. And I think we're just not ready for that yet. I think one is enough. Again, I don't think the Spaniards can make it here. I really don't. I don't think they have enough oomph to fight their way up here. My fleet, first of all, they have no galleys. Yeah, they wouldn't have any anyway. They have 2 light ships. I have 3. That gives me a slight advantage. I think that's enough to protect me. And I can form that into a fleet as desired. I have no diplomacy chits, so I might as well, just to make life easier for me. And I'm allowed to build them at sea, which sounds kind of weird, but I'm allowed to build them at sea because they come. The adjoining ports are allowed to deploy them to sea. All right. My declaration of war came with a free build, and that's it. That's all we got there. Quite all. Spain has a vassal and an alliance. What does that mean? Can I have both? Because the vassal should be creating troops for me, but they're not on the board yet. And I don't know if they can be both. Vassals are subordinate realms. They're not NPRs. I'm not sure that they can be an alliance. You vassalize an ally, 11.4. Okay. Did I miss something? Yeah, when you vassalize, you remove the alliance, but not the royal marriage. Okay. So Spain loses its ally here, and that should have happened earlier. So Spain's in kind of a problematic situation because they just vassalized this and don't have the troops from it yet. But they do, they do have to defend it, etc., and they can't call it in as an ally. So that was one of the things. Could they call in an ally? No, they cannot. This is going to be really problematic for Spain. They pulled their pants down and bent over, and the English just gave it to them. So now for the Poles, we have to worry about the peace conditions. I've marched in, I've successfully defeated the Hungarian army. I think that's enough for me to get a kind of peace. Let's, oh God. I just ate and it's kind of sticking in my gut. So let's look at the requirements for a partial victory. PR deployed units outnumber the total number of armies in their area, of rebel armies in their areas, plus any deployed enemy land units. There aren't any. So I have a partial victory, and that's enough for me to secure desired succession, which is the best thing I can do. Yes, I could capture a town. I have a military cube, which I believe under siege. What does siege work as? Activate units. Oh boy, I gotta look up siege. I think it's a cube per town I want to take. Now that's fine. If I had, I have a pile of armies, I could take lots of towns, but I only have 1 cube, so I think I can only siege 1 town, if I recall correctly. Let's just make sure, because it's very possible for me to completely forget what I'm doing. Activate units, siege. The action pays for a single sieging unit, pay 1 military for each additional unit that takes part in the siege. Yeah. If I had an artillery here, I could take 2 of the locations, but there's not much real reason for me to do that, but maybe there is, maybe there is. I didn't think enough about the peace conditions. They may give me something for handing back towns. A lot of the peace conditions do, but I don't know if this one does. So now I flip through again. Secure desired succession. All occupied have to be returned. The victor scores 3. Yeah. If I could get the capital, if the victor has this, they must flip it over and score P equal to the loser's tax income. Yeah, I think... I don't know what the hell this is. Remove all marriage, this, from the loser's capital other than the victor's. Yeah, I would drive everyone else out. This is good because it solves Poland's problem. They won't be losing points off of it. That's sweet for them. So they're kind of in favor of Austria securing their own succession. That gets rid of our need for a war. Okay. So what do the Austrians want to do? Do they want to do anything? I don't have much capability left. It may be pastime. Pastime. This military reform has all of its cubes gone. So the card goes away. Yeah, I think I'm passing. That gives me $5. And it's always the first player who passes first, which means I get nothing except the money for it. Not much I can do about that. This spy network, which I absolutely do not want to play. However, I may want to play it like this and get more diplomacy. That doesn't seem like a bad choice. Sure, it gives me more cubes, but you know, I don't end up with something there. And I have passed. So I'm good with the peace there. There's a possibility that the NPR comes back and hits me again. In fact, I think there's a definite that it will. But that's okay. Maybe we win that, you know. So we're not guaranteed to get our victory here. That's the key thing. But we've done what we can. I'm good with that. That's fine. I'm running low on battery again. Let's do the polls and then I think we call for about, but there was something I wanted to mention. Oh shit, it's really running low. Something I wanted to mention, which was the way the action rounds end in this is by, 4 people passing. That triggers the end state for this. That's very different from the original. The original, they ended randomly. And you wanted to get your stuff done early so that you wouldn't fail. It was all military stuff, so you weren't, trying to balance out whether or not you wanted to do economic improvement or military actions or whatever, or diplomacy or any of that stuff. But you really wanted to do your military and exploration early, and then as you went on, you might run out of money and not be able to do military anymore. Couldn't really take loans. I think at that point either. You have to take your loans at the beginning of each turn during the economic phase. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm in an emergency, if I recall correctly. But yeah, basically, as the rounds go on further and further, you're rolling a d10, and starting with like round 3, there's a 1 in 10 chance for the round to end, and then it goes up to like a 70% or so up around round 10, which means it could go on forever. It won't, but theoretically, I guess. You're in a position where you don't. Usually, the armies are all worn down by the time a round ends. A series of military rounds ends. Anyway, on to the polls. I need to spend a military cube. I know this. I need to move into here and fight. And I have my king, which gives me 1 extra orange die. These are rebels, so there's nothing special. Do I have any technology? Not the necessary one. So I do 2 hits. Flip them over. And they get to swing back. And they do 2 hits. Into my damaged. Gotta be careful. If I throw them away, it's not that big a deal because there's a rebalancing, you know, but technically, yeah, there's something else that can happen. The rebels are gonna stick around, they always do. So we fight another round because we need to win this. Oh, we get 1 more hit. And the rebels get nothing. However, even though they lost that round, the fight still goes. I just have more padding than I had. We wipe them out. And they cause a lot of hits on us. One of which is a wound on our general, who is the king. And otherwise, they can only cause 1 hit. So that goes there. We've wiped this out. We had a military success, so we get a cube back. Unfortunately for us, that cube would allow us to keep moving, but we can't get down here. That's too far away, unless we have some kind of forced march or something, which we do not in our hand. That's the end of the Polish turn. Goes over to the, hey Turk, you're a jerk. And I am gonna plug the battery back in. Yeah, everything's still charging. Everything was so worn down, and I guess my meal didn't take as long as I thought it did. Okay, all batteries charged and on the Turks here. We got the subjugate. I think that's what I want to do. Discard cubes from here. That's the right cost. Vassalize my ally. He's an ally. And my tax base is at least twice his. No problem with that. Let's just do it. I don't know if it's what I want to do or not anymore. That's Karaman here, which gets me a couple of these. I get to keep the claim. The alliance, however, goes away. We know that now. And this goes over here. Those decks are getting pretty small when they need to be drawn from. Well, we'll have to reshuffle. Looking for a place to put my pipe where it won't cause a problem. I think that's all we can do with the Turks. Turks are the only person without spending an event. They're coming close to the end of their turn, though. The end of the actions that they want to do. So they're going to probably fire off that event fairly soon. I don't know, because I don't know what else to do with my administrative cubes. I have a debt here that I probably want to clean out. Again, I'll do that, you know, as I pass or whatever. You're allowed to take your minor actions. Just going to play their man of the church. Well, we're going to need that cube. Cost me $2 to buy my influence in the church. And I believe what happens is I get the foremost of the cubes out there. Somebody is pursuing the crusade, so it's worth doing. And I now believe I am the undisputed ruler of the church. Because I have 2 of them cubes, right? I think that's the case. This goes away, and I got nothing better to do. Also coming close to the end of my reign here. I got some admin, some military. Looks like England's not going after me. That's pretty cool. However, geez, we would love to attack the English at this point, but we're so low on cubes for the military side. This isn't the turn to do it, unfortunately for us. On to the complexities of Spain, who's in 2 wars and has a lot to think about. Oh boy, I would like to, I'd like to be able to fight the Brits. That looks really tough. My military action, I think, is going to be to reinforce this with these two troops. I'll create a notional temporary army or whatever, spend a cube on that, and get these guys here. I think I will have the capability to completely conquer Morocco. We'll see what happens up in the Netherlands. We may end up keeping this war running if we can. I don't know if we're capable of doing that. I have the feeling the English will be able to force a peace on us. So here's the deal with the old EU. The old EU board game, you start a war with someone and they can keep you pinned in that war forever. That was actually kind of problematic. It's bad for both sides. Both sides suffer stability losses, and they would here too. But there was no way of like forcing someone to take a peace. You could force someone to take a white peace if neither of you were doing anything to the other. It would just happen automatically as it does here. But if someone invaded you, you were given the choice of, do you want to surrender? And the terms of surrender were determined explicitly by what the situation in the war was. I don't feel like that's the case here. I don't have a good enough grasp on the peace terms to know yet. We'll see when we see what the British do here, but I think they're going to be able to capture some towns and say, I want peace at the status quo. I'm winning the war so I can take a partial victory and I can just claim it. And not sure how I feel about that, right? In the old EU, turns are 5 years each. So, you know, a war would seldom last what is essentially a set of rounds in this game, because this would be several EU turns in a set of rounds. So I'm not sure it's terribly wrong that you can enforce your peace under conditions, and that actually wars will almost always end at the end of a set of the card deal and whatever that happens within one set of rounds. But yeah, I really think the Spaniards want to launch their attack down here. They don't really have enough cubes to do anything about the English up there. Unlike, again, in the old EU, if you had an army on the board, you could keep moving it until the rounds run out, right? You could keep fighting. You don't need to rely on your military capability. You did have to rely on your cash, though. You had to set aside cash for the military capabilities. And maybe that kind of represents some of the cubes or whatever again. And if you ran out of cash to conduct operations, you're just done. And that quite often happened when there were long sets of rounds. Later in the game, armies, countries maintained a capability to like keep fighting and keep fighting. So like, someone might have several hundred ducats in their treasury, and it was basically 10 ducats a round. You know what? You couldn't move all your forces either. The computer game, you could, I think, move everything at once, but in the board game, you couldn't. You could move a lot of stuff at once, but you could only launch one attack per round, unless you paid 100 ducats for the round, in which case, you could sweep with all your armies at once and do massive things, but that is really, really unlikely. On the other hand, forces that were in place could conduct sieges and whatnot for free. Just a different system. I think this one works. I'm just, making that kind of comparison between the two board games. And then with the computer game, I seem to remember any forces you had on the board, you could get moving. But there may have been a cost, like, it wasn't very explicit, but there may have been a cost when units are moving that they just cost you more money or something. I don't really recall. I don't think so. I think you just paid an upkeep cost on your armies as each time ticked or whatever. You paid some money just for having the armies on the board. But it may have been that if they were moving, they cost them more. I didn't pay much attention to those kind of intricacies of the rules. That means we are on the English because the Spanish just shifted a little bit of force. I have 5 pieces. I have 5 cubes. I can do 5 sieges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about that? Let's just do it, man. I have enough pieces to handle all this. More importantly, cubes, you know, again, I'm always confused by the relationship. 1, 2. Of the relationship of cubes to activities and whatnot, but I think seizing all these makes perfect sense, and we push this forward. If we pass once we're at war, we're just sitting targets. However, again, Spain just doesn't have that much oomph left to drive anything, so I feel like it's perfectly fine to fire this all off and maybe be able to get an early pass that'll get us a couple of bucks or something. Was already passed. Poland threw a pass in for $3. Turkey. Turkey is sitting on a little bit of capability, but there's nothing I can really do with it. The only thing I can think of doing is I could fire off a diplomatic power to do a trade activity. You know, I can't pass yet because I don't have my event. Do I want to fire my event now? Or maybe get an extra turn is the whole thing. So if I fire my event off now, I may get one more action. If I take an action now, I'm guaranteed another action and the event if I want them. I don't really have a use for another action though. I have a use maybe for one, which is generating the trade. Nobody's going to fuck with my events. What happens if I take the fate of the Crimean Khanate, which is what I probably want to do? I have to pay... I have to pay more than I have. Or I can refuse to help. Which would maybe give me something in Circassa. Believe this is adjacent overseas. The other option is I could take fistfuls of cash for the heresy. Choose one of your own areas and an area adjacent to it and place diverse faiths tokens in both areas. There's already one here, so I'm okay with that. And I could push diverse faiths up into another area, get a lot of cash, but I'd get some unrest to my own area, and then I'd be allowed to research tolerance, but I think I already have tolerance, don't I? I do. So I have the option of taking $6 off of these two events. I have the option of taking $6 off the events, or a diplomacy and a couple of cubes. There's a couple of cubes. It might be not too bad. In adjacent areas, what am I looking for? I'm looking for safeguard Anatolia. Own or vassalize 5 or more provinces in Karaman are in areas adjacent to it that are not among my core provinces. Karaman's down here. I've already taken 2. 3 and 4 are here. I would still need one more, but I got like Kurdistan that I can work on. In fact, working on Mush would get me all throughout here, which would actually solve my problem if I work towards that. So I'm kind of tempted to put cubes into here to give me more power rather than anything else. Do I want to trade? Do I want money? I'm a little low on cash. I'll be getting another diplomacy cube. Cubes are, I don't know. They look like I need diplomacy cubes and I'm kind of weak on them, but let's go for trade. Only one card that's useful, which is this fish card. This one's kind of interesting. Maghreb and Aleppo. Aleppo and Alexandria is a secondary. I don't remember how secondaries work, but I'm not going to worry because I don't have anything. Oh, wait, I do have Alexandria. Hold on. So I got two that might work. All right, so what the hell is up with secondary trade zones? Oh, boy. There's going to be a diplomatic action. This is going to send me to page something, not 25, 35 for trade power. I'm curious about the secondary trade zones. I know I read it. I vaguely remember it. I'm going to have to find the rule for it. But what's trade protection? This just improves your trading. It's the trade power thing. Yeah, I think I can use Seville, but I'm not sure. Maghreb's over in Africa. Obviously, that's out of place. No, not Seville. Where is it? Alexandria. This one. The other option that I had was what? The Adriatic Sea, which, because there's a Austrian merchant there, would generate money for them, even though it's been used. It's kind of a weird situation. It's like not your trade power that's, if your merchant happens to be occupying a trade space, that's what generates the money. And you're allowed to move your merchant into that area, and then he lays down and takes a nap. Yeah, so the fact that Turkey had some influence over here doesn't give them anything because they didn't have a merchant working that. Okay, so this is weird. Some trade cards have a secondary trade node listed in parentheses below one or more primary, and you can read how these work in section 12.5. Thanks. Okay, so then I go here, and I look for secondary, and I don't know that I'm seeing. There we go. Some trade cards have a secondary trade node listed in parentheses. If the active player has trade power not exceeded by any other players in an eligible secondary node, they can select that node and collect trade income from the lowest income road on the trade card. No other player gets any income from the secondary node. Selecting secondary also triggers trade income from the associated primary for all players other than the active player that are able to collect income there. If there was a pirate in the secondary, can't be taken. So my choices are, where's the Alexandria one? That's here. All I would get is $3 for that. If I do the Adriatic, I could, where's my Navy? It sunk. There's my Navy. Okay. So I would move a merchant there, which would give me 1, 2. I wouldn't be able to move a ship. Venice, Ragusa, Athens. Athens I have. That gives me 3. So I would have 3. I would get $5 for that. I'm going to do that instead of... So I could get a couple of bucks off the one. I can get $5 off one and give some money to the Austrians. I don't really care about the Austrians. Hold on. I may not be the biggest. Austria has 1, 2... Venice, Ragusa, no, Athens, Crete. So yeah, Venice will get $3 for that. So I've given them a little bit of extra money, not Venice, Austria, gets $3 for their trade in the Adriatic. I give them a little extra money, but I don't really care. Austria is in such a shit situation right now. I would rather take a little bit extra money, even though Austria and Poland are the people I'm likely to fight. Right? So it's a little bit like, well, maybe I'm bailing them out. But I'm making as much extra off of them anyway. That's my trade operation. I'll still keep the loan in place. Yeah. You know, there's probably something that triggers a loan to be paid. Fuck that. Let's just get rid of it. We don't want to have to pay anything extra if something triggers additional interest or something. I don't think anything does, but it's quite possible some games have that. Joins those passing, my battery's almost out. Gotta swap. Spain is going to continue their Great War moving into here. I've got more forces now. Do I have a general? Yes, I still have my general. Great. So I need 3 orange dice. I don't like keeping too much crap lying around. I do like these special dice. I don't know, something gives me a kick. It reminds me of like Dragon Dice or something like that. The game, it used to be a collectible dice game. When collectible card games happen, collectible dice games were a follow through. And what a weird idea. You know, the collector, it's sort of a, oh, well, you're collecting things and they do better and whatever. But the collectible card games had pretty pictures and everything on them. The dice, the only thing you had was kind of cool dice, but they didn't have words on them or any nice picture or anything. They just didn't work the same for me. So I march in here. I'm going to be facing... I still don't know what this gold symbol does for me. I briefly looked at the gold trade section, which, I don't know, maybe it impacts gold, the trade power for gold or whatever. But gold has a penalty to it if you trade in gold. So, maybe I really ought to read some of this more, but I don't know. It's a gold card, but I just don't know what the gold marker itself has, and maybe it's explained somewhere. Maybe it's not. I'm assuming it is. All right, so we launched an attack, and there's not going to be a general here because there's only two dice. The Spanish have a big cav general. We have tercios and cannons. Okay, that means 2, 3, 4 hits, all of which we can apply. Boom, boom, boom. We do not have line infantry. We face 1 hit. Huh. I get the feeling I dumped some infantry. I'm gonna, yeah. I have the real worry that there's some infantry that got dumped over in the tray that should not have been, but I have no idea how to fix that at this point. And I also don't think it's any factor at all. The Spanish spent a cube, but now they get one back. I hope I spent a cube to move them. Otherwise, I'm screwed. We go to the English. The Spanish had some mercenaries, and we're looking at 3, 4, 5, 6 army units on the board. That still seems too low. But I don't remember how big they are, and they expanded so much this turn. I have the feeling that I probably dropped a couple of units into the into the casualty bin instead of into the fatigued bin. All right. Do the English have anything they can do with their 2 administrative points? Yes, they could shift over and give themselves a military point, but we are going to instead pass and take a buck. And that triggers the end of round conditions. Our end of round conditions mean that everybody gets at most 1 more round, except for the Turks, who get 1 round and then the event if they want it. We look through the pile, and it is the Turks who are next, in fact. The fate of the Crimean Khanate. I hope that's pirates, but somebody ought to be killing these pirates or something. Got warships near them. That would just automatically happen in the old EU. Okay. I can't accept Crimean servitude because I don't have the costs. I fucked up. I should not have spent some of the stuff I did, apparently. Too bad. I get a cube in diplomacy. I lose all cubes in Crimea, no biggie. But I gain 2 in adjacent areas. I'm going to take both of them down here. And that creates what I think is a pirate ship. Play Place a pirate ship into a maritime trade node of your choice. If possible, it must be a node that at least one merchant in it. Okay. Who's doing too well? I would say the English are doing too well. Let's put it over in their expanded English channel space. It's an easy place to fight, but okay, whatever. And this card is gone. We fired off our event, but this was also our last round. Had we done something this round, we would get a chance to do something else. We would get a chance to fire off the event. We're not forced to use our last round as an event just because we delayed on that. For the Spaniards, 2 yellow cubes, which I should not throw in the pool. Because, oh, fuckies. There's one. There's a second one, and I pull one of these. Because I'm taking both of these. I get occupied markers there. But something happens. Ooh, something happens. That something is one of these suckers. So this is plus 20 and plus 10 manpower, and this is kicking up here, and then all my little yellow things go down, and now I don't know what's up with those cubes because they fuck everything up. Because they're like cubes covering spaces that aren't actually in play, but I'm gonna just put a pile of these here to remind me that it's a weird situation. That's their last round. Both sides have done their last round. We are ending the action phase, and that puts us over into Peace and Rebels. That's a good time for me to break. And yeah, we saw a hell of a lot happen this particular turn. I mean, my God. And I think England is going to capture all of Flanders. I think that's how the peace situation goes. But on the other hand, Spain is going to capture Morocco as a whole, which is fine. We've seen that before. They've already vassalized all of Aragon. The Burgundian inheritance has fallen and caused chaos all over there. So now there's 3 countries there. We're going to see people triggering their missions off of this. Meanwhile, France hasn't taken back the English-controlled territories, which is problematic for them. Turkey has kind of been working at a reasonable pace, right? Yeah, I didn't get the Crimea. I should have. That's a shame. That's going to hurt me in conjunction with the Poles, I'm guessing. What else? The Poles and the Austrians are both in a problematic situation. Although Austria saved Poland's ass here by intervening in the marriage situation, and Poland is going to save their ass through diplomacy there and end up with an alliance with Bohemia. But what we're seeing is those big alliances, they're not really falling into the hands of the nations that had any kind of claim on them, which is intriguing. Really, the West is much more chaotic right now than anything else, though. It's where most of the movement's happening and really going off the rails, right? I mean, Spain has completed a crusade sanctioned by the Pope into, maybe it's not, so Spain historically, and you can see the Portuguese here in Morocco as well, Spain historically did take some of this territory on and off, usually one city at a time or something. And I don't know if that was sanctioned through Crusade or there were some other mechanisms that are in the game that give them a reason to attack that. But they have a desire for this. This is one of their goals. It's to continue the Reconquista. And, they're pushing Catholicism back into North Africa. At least that's their goal. But you know, on the other hand, the English haven't been driven out of France. They've moved in against Spain and taken the Spanish part of the Burgundian alliance. And you know, you got a pretty good argument for that, right? They were suitors for the crown. The French grabbed Burgundy itself from the Burgundian Wars. The Spaniards married into the rest of it, and the English said, hey, no, the Scheldt is the key to English foreign policy. Like, basically, from this era, at least, maybe earlier even, you could argue, because you know, they were more interested in the French possessions, but the Scheldt becomes the key to English foreign policy. If you view everything regarding them as to who controls the Scheldt, does a major land power in Europe control the Scheldt and thereby threaten their trade with Central Europe? It really ranges them all the way to World War II, you could even argue. Here's the thing that's funky about that. It really wasn't that major a part of their trade once you hit the 19th century. But their foreign policy still seems irrevocably tied to that concept, right? To the idea that no one should control that major waterway going into, you know, central Germany and whatnot. And you know, they had problems with Napoleon doing so, and before that, Louis XIV. They had problems with Spain controlling that area. The Dutch, I think you can give a pass. I don't feel like the Dutch fit the paradigm, even though they kind of controlled it. But I feel like that was more to do with external shipping. It was more to do with a combination of the Scheldt and other power. I think maybe that's the thing, because, but then you have them moving against Germany when you hit the 20th century in the same thing. You know, it was the assurances to Belgium that determined World War I, you know, that the British would be in World War I. If the Germans had not invaded Belgium, it's a big question. Would the Brits have eventually been dragged in on the French side? I don't know. The Germans were definitely pissing the English off in other ways, but had they not taken Belgium, there wouldn't be that same threat. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of my very limited historical knowledge being exposed. And onward. These, I think, are blue. I hope so, because I don't know of any black cubes in this game. Upstairs, I realize I fucked up. I forgot to take this into account. No biggie. I mean, maybe it has an impact, but we'll see. All right, the first thing was... Oh, this might have an impact. That looks like a cardinal croaking. And I have to figure out when that should have happened. Fuck. Okay, yeah, that's a cardinal dies. You must remove any cardinal except the Rome from the papal curia. Auto resolution would be the rightmost, belonging to the PR with the most. Now, here's the thing. The French slipped theirs in. And when? Fairly late. Who triggered the last event? The Turks. The Turks triggered it before France passed, but I think after they set the curia. So I think the French actually lose their bonus. Just trying to figure out the ordering on that. So they will not get any victory points for controlling the curia. That's cool. And then we go to DNPR expansion. No player controls this, so we're in auto resolution. All DNPRs are the same colors as the symbol. Okay, all DNPRs are the same color. An adjacent NPR province. Prioritize provinces in areas where the DNPR already owns provinces, and then provinces in areas adjacent. This is because it's auto-resolution. In areas adjacent to their realm by land. They will target an eligible NPR with the lowest tax income. If several realms are tied, use alphabetical order among adjacent provinces. I hate this. the alphabetical. Because, I can make an argument for the player order having some kind of impact on, the seating order based on where people are, because that's pre-programmed. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it works on all events properly, but maybe. Okay, so the first is the green here. Let's just do them in order. That is going to go for an NPR province that's adjacent. I think that's going to be Algiers, because I can't take the stuff the Spanish have under conquest, I assume. And we use target the eligible. I assume it's alphabetical for the province as well. So this is going to be Algiers and this is Tunisia. So they'll go for Algiers. They can't take the capital first. So this is up and down green. Up and down green will take Oran. Wow. Neat shit happening there. Okay. Let's go up to the Danes, then the next one. I don't think they'll go for their vassal, but I don't know, maybe. Let's get a sideways pink. That's this guy. And see what we have here. Sideways pink. It'll be... See, this is their vassal. Would they steal Schleswig from Holstein? I've got a big maybe on that, right? I'm not completely opposed to the idea that they might. An adjacent NPR province in an area where the... I think they do. I think they do. So I think they take Schleswig away from their vassal. And this doesn't break the vassalage or anything, so it's really kind of goofy. Naples. Naples is up and down pink. Okay. Up and down pink is going to go, there's nothing in Naples itself, so what are they taking? Lowest tax income adjacent. Rome has a tax income of 3. That's probably not it. This is Hungarian vassals. I think I can take that, but they have a 2. It looks to me like the lowest that's actually adjacent. Oh, we've already used our way into here. So Ragusa, Belgrade's part of Hungary, or Kosovo. Oh, no, this is one Serbian nation. So yeah, I think we take Ragusa. Nobody owns that. Okay. And then our final one is orange with a white border. And that's a lot of money. So they're probably not taking that. This is worth 3. Not likely to go after that. However, Bilis, this is a vassal of, this is probably Persia. Yeah. Do we have any limits on vassalage? looks like they can take vassals over. So this is a 1 point here at Bitlis that we could probably take. Cyprus is close. Naxos. I think we take Bitlis from the Persians here. And you can have kind of a, what the fuck, man? What did they conquer? You know, this doesn't look adjacent anymore. Whatever, you know. We'll live with that weirdness. That creates some problems for the Turks. All right, so that was a resolution of a problem I had. Now we go to peace and rebels. And remove casus belli and truces from the board. A player removing a casus belli loses 2 if not at war. There are no casus belli on the board. I think there are no truces either. Okay. If an NPR, which is not an active ally, is at war with any PRs, we got a couple of them. We got Morocco, which I think is screwed. We got Hungary, which gets to fling back. And we got Rhodes. And none of its areas where that NPR currently controls provinces contain units hostile to the NPR. The PRs, let's see what the rules on this are. I'm not quite following the restrictions, but I'm pretty sure Hungary is an issue. Oh, boy. We're NPR invasion. If an NPR is at war with player realms during phase 3, step B, the players may face an invasion. If all 3 of the criteria below are satisfied. The NPR is not an active ally of any PR. Correct. None of the areas where the NPR currently controls provinces contain units hostile to that NPR. Failure. So no invasion. I don't get thrown back. Okay. These, however, I'm not sure that they currently control. They don't have... there's at least one eligible invasion target area adjacent to the NPR. Yeah, I think this is for the NPR coming back. I thought they got to fight for their territory back. But apparently they do not. I was defeated, and that's good enough. Okay. Weird. Rebel siege or move. Are there any rebel units on the board? Yeah, there are. A lot less than there were, though. I think this is our only case. Resolve in order of most. For both rebels and unrest, the rebels in the area may siege any town with an unrest that they can. Each rebel has a siege strength of 1. They'll siege large provinces first when possible. Remember, large provinces cost 2. I believe I can succeed against one of these 2. For each area, no. Okay, for core provinces, no. Non-core provinces are liberated. Owners must return towns or vassals to their player mat and place a CB token on the new province owner. Oh, boy. So this is problematic. If I could take both of these, it would be no issue whatsoever, would it? I don't know. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Let's see what happens. It has both this. These siege any towns or vassals with these. Each has a siege strength of 1. The siege will siege large provinces first when possible, otherwise pick alphabetically. So they're going to go after Bessarabia. And I believe all that happens is that this is removed and goes back to Poland, and somehow or another, I have lost control of this. Bessarabia has become a non-vassalized, and it's not really anything, because it's part of this. Place a rebel. No, this is a core province of the NPR that's involved. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on, because it has the flag there. Okay. So owners must return non-core provinces, core province. Place a rebel town on top of the owner's thing and cover the rightmost vacant slot on their town track. Well, it's not a town track. This is just weird. I think that thing is in rebellion at this point, like this. But, and I don't know, if they get both of them, I think it's captured. See, the weird thing is that it's vassals, and vassals, it does cover vassals. That's what this symbol says, but vassals don't really work the same. Rightmost vacant slot on their town track with a cube. Well, I don't know. Either that or it's a non-core province, which might be the case. Let's look up core province. Core province may be restricted to PRs, in which case that would just be liberated, and it would be weird. It would be like unassociated with the, like the vassalage would only happen to something, to the capital, and the other part would just become God knows what. Core province, not listed here. Core province. A realm's core provinces are those whose shield is marked with their flag. If a PR's province is not their core province, it can be liberated. I think this is in rebellion, and I think there's like a cube. I'm guessing here, but that's not really a town space anymore. So yeah, I don't know. But that's what we're going to do. It doesn't really work. Now, is there a rebel siege or move section? Probably. Where would that be? Yeah, this is what makes the game hard. Is that I'm not, I don't know, let me get some fingers. The part of the sequence of play, this is the detailed section. Yeah, this is all there is. Okay. Whatevers. Fuck it. This is what we're going with. It makes sense that the Poles would want to recover it for their vassal, so I'm not. Peace resolution. This step only occurs when there are ongoing wars, and wars are resolved according to the sequence described on page 29, but summarized here. But we don't want the summary because it's not good enough. Okay. Automatic white peace. I don't think we have that situation. That neither side is occupying enemy provinces. Total victory. We have some total victories to resolve. Doesn't really matter the order. Let's do Rhodes first. We are going to annex Rhodes. In order to do this, the occupied marker goes away. We lose the cube that we had here. Yay, a cube gone. This is total annexation. Remove all alliance and war tokens. We didn't have an ally involved in this. If the loser was an active ally of a PR, the PR loses some points. The victor then, by discarding a claim from the area, can also remove a couple of these things. I don't really want to get rid of my claim. I only went for one territory for various reasons. Let's see what the last Crusader bonus is. I annexed or vassalized Rhodes during that. I gain one galley. I have a fleet again. Where do I gain it? Oh. Gain one galley and a thingamabob. Okay. I don't really want the galley at sea, because that's kind of problematic. I guess I can put it in Rhodes. Kinda. Okay. That's a big galley. Okay. I gain a galley and a claim in the Aegean archipelago or Cyprus. I'm going to take it in Cyprus. Now, I could have spent this and regained it, but yeah, I would rather have claim to Cyprus. And I get 2 more prestige for that. And the Turks are running a string of events there. Did I safeguard Anatolia? Owner vassalize 5 or more provinces. I think I have 2. Okay. The other total war is down here at Morocco. We're going to totally annex that. Total victory to enforce. Loser must be an NPR or bot. Since bots can have it happen, I'm going to allow major powers to be annexed as well. It'll knock a player out, and then they can come in as someone new. Losers de jure are fully incorporated into the victor's realm. Remove all blips or bleeps. Okay. I also get rid of the war. Oh, all these occupieds go away. I'm going to need some religious markers for both of these. For both of these wars. Okay. All these occupieds go away. I have 2 Muslims and an Orthodox that I'm going to need. And if I run out, I'll have to think, differently. Like if we don't start converting territories, but now here's a funny thing. So, trying to remember what game it is. It's Empires of the Middle Ages, which makes Spain sort of a special case for the Reconquista because so many Christians were still there, and it was such a recent conquest that as things are taken back, they automatically lose their Muslim religion. Whereas you have to follow a different, more expensive procedure, much more expensive procedure to convert the religion of most areas in the game. If you were to, the idea being there's a special situation having to do with Spain, which really doesn't apply to North Africa, certainly at this point in the period. So, but it's very easy to convert territories in this game. All you have to do is spend 2 flags, two administrative capability, and three bucks, and you can convert it. So this is going to all become Catholic very quickly. That is disturbing to me. Like, just like, it may work in most of the areas where things actually did work, but the idea of North Africa being easily converted is very troublesome. The idea of, say, Anatolia. Well, Anatolia is not that far from conversions. But yeah, I mean, the idea of like Baghdad or something being turned Christian at this point, even though it is a mixed population, honestly. They don't mark it as such because the Muslims had such control of the overall infrastructure, the superstructure of the society. And that may be kind of the thing. If you get the superstructure completely enough, you start slowly getting something else. I don't know. But where am I? I don't know. I was on the peace rules. Okay, so that's another full annexation. Now we go back to partial victory against the PR. PR's deployed land units outnumber the deployed land units of their enemy by 2 to 1. Good question. Spain has 3 deployed land units. England has 5. England can't declare a partial victory here. I thought they were going to get one, but they don't have enough forces. That means there is no peace. Unless we want to go to somewhere or another, we're able to do a negotiated peace. Inconclusive result, you're allowed to do a negotiated peace against a human enemy. Whew. I don't know, man. Oh, Spain continued the Reconquista. Owner vassalized 3 or more provinces in northern Morocco, Algiers, and Tunisia. We succeeded in all that. One of our cubes becomes a cardinal. And that puts us now in dominance as opposed to the French. Place new in the slot number 1. Yeah. Okay. And we gain 4, putting us in the lead here. Another mission accomplished. That's a good thing. I look for Spain. I know they're here. There they are. Whew. I've got to look at the negotiated peace, see if the English can offer anything to Spain that'll work. Spain's in a troublesome position here, so they might just take a peace. Their trouble is that it's not trivial for them to come in and fight England here, but they can fight England here. I also have to look at the consequences of a failure to come to peace, which I believe is a couple of, it may be prestige loss, but I'm pretty sure it's a stability loss as well. Now, England is at -1. I don't know what happens if you're at -3. In the old EU, if you're at -3 stability, you had to accept any peace that was offered. Now, there were limits to what could be offered, right? So I don't know. I don't see anything here about stability counting in towards an enforced, having to give up, right? And in this game, well, it's fairly easy to up your stability and keep your warfare going. But yeah, if you were at stability -3 in the old EU, and I believe this also applied to the computer game, you were forced into peace the same way you would be if you were completely conquered. If you were completely conquered, you'd lose everything, and too bad you're gone. Might not be the case for player-controlled countries, in which case, oh look, Ulm will never be captured, which is ridiculous. But yeah. Before I delve into the negotiated peace, which I'm trying to see, and Spain might be able to keep some of their stuff through this, but man, that's a big giveaway to the English to give them all of that. I don't know, man. I don't know. What we do have is a partial victory here. Partial victory against the NPR. PR's deployed land units outnumber the total number of rebel units in their area. Austria has won a war against Hungary with a partial victory. Now, there's not a hell of a lot we can do here, and there's not a lot we wanted to do. We could humiliate them. What we really want to do is secure the desired succession. All occupied provinces must be returned to their lawful owners. If the loser is an NPR, all their other wars end on white peace terms. Remove all marriage, flaming marriage, and alliance, flaming alliance from the loser's capital other than the victor. Poles are no longer involved. The victor scores 3 per thing removed. Hey, sweet. And the token's owners lose 3 each. No, we didn't get saved. We had to pay either way. It's just we pay here instead of at the other point. Hey, I didn't read enough. If the victor has disputed on the loser's capital, they must flip it over and score P equal to the loser's tax income, maximum 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 easily. Austria. This is working pretty well. Lots of prestige. The victor may, if the loser is an NPR, add 4 cubes to the loser's capital area, or if the loser is a PR, replace the loser's ruler with a leader from any discard pile. How random. The victor may then gain an alliance with the loser. Okay. So how many cubes do we get? We get 4 white cubes. I guess I'll take them. These are safe cubes because I can remove them. And is this anywhere in their realm? Only to the capital area. Okay. Well, I got room for them. And I get an alliance. I don't lose my claim. Well, that worked out pretty well. It felt like I didn't do much, right? I marched in. I did defeat their army. And now I have to go out. Yeah, that didn't feel too painful. And the war goes away, but there's a truce between us because they're still in existence, and that's it for that. Now I got to read the negotiated peace and try to figure out if Spain and England can come to any kind of agreement here. I'm tempted not to. Like, Spain's behind the 8 ball, but they've got a powerful, powerful setup. They and France both want to go to war with England at this point. So maybe if England can convince them with a really good deal. We pause for a bit, come back and deal with this later. I have to pee and I have other things. And I feel like I've gone through a hell of a lot to get to this point. And I really want to bring some thought to this because some of my considerations may be the deal may involve something having to do with Italy. I don't know. England and Spain are having too hard a time to come to some sort of agreement. Here's the problem. England can give up one of their conquests to the Spaniards. That's not really a good result from Spain's point of view. Like, hey, give up 4 of these provinces, and one of them comes back, and there may be there's certain buyback type opportunities that might be included in the peace conditions. Because you have to actually use the formal peace conditions, I think, but you can negotiate which ones you take and which ones you don't. On the other hand, some kind of anti-French posture, the Spaniards are offering that. Perhaps. This might be an alliance, for example, which you're allowed to do a player-to-player diplomacy. Now, one of the players, I think, is going to have to pay a diplomacy marker, and only Spain has one, in order to conduct this. It's kind of not entirely clear to me. Paying for the action, disregarding, yeah. So who's active, who's not, I think you determine within this. See, the thing is, Spain is way ahead in prestige right now. And England is probably betting on, I can win this war and maybe bring France in on my side with it. The problem, of course, with that is I'm occupying a big chunk of France, and France really doesn't want me in there. Oh, I'm really torn here. The actual conditions that are allowable are somewhat painful. Like, both sides are looking at an argument with which they can convince France to join in the war. Now, what if we took keep current board state, the victor
in place of keeping provinces, and this can be part of the agreement, can exchange them for provinces of equal tax value that the loser currently occupies. That's nothing. Return any of these provinces and demand the loser pays them $3 per tax value of province, or liberate the provinces. And that would come without any advantages. Yeah. The English would gladly take a peace, right? Let me hold all my stuff, and we make some sort of alliance which will, and maybe even a royal marriage, which will bind us against France. Ooh. Is Spain willing to accept that? Because what would we actually lose? Total ducats that can be demanded in return for a realm's capital. PRs may be discarding, from which they also remain, remove these. PRs that have lost any of their provinces can get a claim in any areas in which they lost a province. I already have a claim over there with the Spaniards. Like, England is perfectly willing to accept a peace at this point. Get the Low Country, or get Flanders. It resolves our problem. Does Spain have a chance, with their big money and big power, and maybe the support of France, to push England out of there? Or are they more interested in some kind of agreement with England, which England will jump to, which puts them both in a position anti-French? I think Spain is willing to go on a 1 in 6 chance for that. Otherwise, they're looking at, France is probably going to be attacking England, and that puts me in a good position to prosecute this war against the English. I was going to go on a 1, so we're going to leave the war as is. Because the best England can offer is, we'll give you one of these interior provinces as, not the port, damn you. We'll give you an interior province as one of your holdings, and that's fine and dandy and whatever. That's sort of the best offer England's willing to make. Beyond, hey, I'll support you against France. Yeah, but I would be glad to make that if we weren't, if you weren't seizing all my provinces, right? Okay. And I think I can get my provinces back with the help of France. Now, we don't know, because France and Spain may be on a collision course in Italy. Okay, so that puts us at the end of peace resolution. Inconclusive war, each player resolves all wars that they wish to before moving to the next. Finally, handle the aftermath, returning any land units in neutral areas to their owners' realms. We already did that with the Austrians. Flipping all disputed marriages over, and discarding all allied units for the PRs that are now at peace. I don't think anybody has any allied units on the board. I don't think anybody had any. I think the Spaniards had some mercenaries and some regulars that got discarded. Okay. Flip over any royal marriages that still display the flame on their side. That's the Polish one here. Each player loses 3 prestige, but a player can avoid this if they are the only PR to have an alliance, true, on the realm, and also have the most cubes, minimum of 2 if that realm is an NPR, yes. So the alliance passes, the fact that, or the marriage to Bohemia passes. Diplomatically, we were able to avoid the situation that we lost in Hungary. We wouldn't have been able to win Hungary. Anyway, there was no way we could defeat Hungary. But I did have some thoughts that the Austrian invasion negated
whatever penalties Poland was going to pay there. Players who now have towns that are occupied by enemies or rebels lose prestige equal to their tax value. Ooh. Wow. Didn't realize that. That's 5 prestige that Spain is going to lose for that occupation if I don't make a peace. I think that changes the dynamics, and we're going to go odd. We accepted the peace. I'm doing this retroactively, but really nothing has changed. No, screw it, man. Makes Turkey the bunny. Leader, whatever. No one's got an interregnum, as far as I know. Just checking to make sure I didn't have any events over there, but I caught those. Players who have religious dissent will be adding pitchforks and okay. So, what happens? Who has religious dissent? The Spanish have pitchforks. This is already the case. This is all pitchforked over. And that's not going to be impacted. We have religious dissent in other areas, though. Both Turkey and Poland have toleration, tolerance, which lets them take 2 fewer than normal. So, what would they be getting? Well, let's take a look. What do we get? Okay, so we'd be getting 1 here, 1 here. We already got 1 there. That's not going to count against us. And 1 here, and 1 here. So I got to pick 1 that I'm going to take a dissent in. Gosh, I don't know. My army is right here. Oh, let's take it here in Moria. Okay. And then the Poles have some religious dissent as well. They have 1, 2 of normal dissent. And then they have, on top of that, they have to either remove a cube or add a pitchfork. Well, they're as screwed as possible in that area already. So they can't take more. Players who are still at war add pitchforks to 2 of their towns. Oh, that's England and Spain. England will set Oxford and York. Spain, Cordoba and Badajoz. Whoops, Badajoz was already in unrest. Burgos, I guess. Getting markers all over the fucking place. Players with a -2. Okay, so we check stability. -2 or +2 are of interest. No, 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 no. +2, the Poles get to get 1 back. Well, we have a whole boatload of stuff over here that's problematic, isn't it? One of those back. Okay. That's where the revolt had occurred. And Austria has a problem. You know, put it with our army. God. Oh, what a mess. The English are fine. Okay. Now, dice are reduced also for the tolerance people. Players who have, okay, So we did that. Roll rebel dice. You roll them per town on a per area basis, and this will be page 37 where we deal with these. Let's get the rebel dice. Rebel, rebel. All right, and who's got the? Let's start with the Austrians here. They do not have tolerance, and so they'll be rolling 2 dice over there in Austria. I think that is neat. All right, we got a rebellion marker. Ugh, that ain't good. If you have any military units in the area, we do. A single black rebel is placed in that area, and our huge army is present to fight it. Okay, well that should be fun. I have my general who gets an extra die, so I'll be getting 4 dice. I have janissaries. Yeah. Okay, so we kill them. That's no problem. They get 3 dice coming back and would whack the shit out of us, but they don't. Okay, so that's that rebellion. Next one is the Poles. The Poles have 2 dice over here. We get rid of a pitchfork and we get a rebellion. That means 1 rebel army. And this is not as good a fight. Poles have no military capabilities of any special type, but I do have an extra cav die in place. And I could perhaps fire off something, but I'm okay with this. Okay, I get a hit. And then the rebellion gets hits as well. That destroys the army. Put the king back and the army back. Okay. Turks. Screw me. Tolerance. I could re-roll 1 rebel die. You know, let me re-roll the army die. Okay, it happened the same way, so that's not. And let's memorize this. Twice, immediately after rolling for an area. Yeah, I don't think I can re-roll the same area twice. I know. It's not clear, but okay. For the Turks, what's going on here? Where's this guy? He's on top of Rhodes, which gets a die. Why don't we roll that die first? Well, because I don't think I want to roll that die first. Sure, it's fine. That's a rebellion. I'll re-roll that die. I got 2 areas I get to re-roll on each one. I get nothing. And then the other area, I get nothing. I'll live with that. You know, I could roll for a pitchfork or whatever, but yeah, not worthwhile. The French have 2 dice over there with their army. Their army being a single cannon. We get a rebellion. This French army does not have a leader. Oh yeah, it does. It has 3 extra dice leader. Yeah, it has a very good leader. Okay. Well, we hit with the cannon, I'll tell you that much. Our enemy hits us, however, And there goes our artillery piece. I believe we lose our general. I don't think you can have a general if there's no army to support him. I'm not sure of that. But I don't know where I would even look it up. I really don't. Next one up here, 3 dice maximum, already accumulated there. That's a pitchfork goes away. Look, Perry is quelled. Yeah. Oh boy. The English, their big one there. They don't have tolerance. Okay. So we lose a pitchfork. We lose $2. Get rid of the pitchfork here. I should have a bunch of cubes on the English spaces. And now, I hope I didn't grab from here. Doesn't look like I did. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these have cubes in them. Just forgot to put cubes out, I guess. Oh boy, am I tired. I got up, I've been awake like a normal person, and you know, getting up around 6 or so in the morning, and it's, you know, 13 hours later or so. I haven't fallen asleep any time during the day at all, and I'm used to taking lots of little naps. Okay, so that's one. I lose $2. I could afford that. And the other thing is a rebellion. I have a 4-man army. I do not have my general assigned, but I could throw him down there for an extra die. That is going to face, see, here's the thing. Is this just one army, or is it a whole bunch? See, this looks like that, but it's not. This is that. Yeah, so for each result. So I'm only facing one army. I'm not going to risk my king on this because there's a possibility of, like, I'm not reducing his dice or anything. So I've got 3 dice with no bonuses. I kill his army. And he kills one of mine. Okay. But there's more rebellions to do for the English. Did I do the Spanish rebellion up there? I don't think I caught these guys. Whoops. Whoopsie. I don't think I caught any Spaniards, to tell you the truth. All right. Well, we'll jump back to the Spaniards. They came after the French, and I just skipped them. But first, in East Anglia, nothing comes of it, and Northumberland. I owe $2 more, running close to having to pick up a debt there. All right, the Spaniards. Let's start here where I have 3 dice. There's a rebellion, $2 and a cube. I don't lose a cube. That means I lose $4. I don't have any bucks. So now I'm in debt. I also get a rebellion. Now, this is a different kind of rebellion. Let's take these dice with me. God, what a mess we've got here, don't we? Should have sued for peace, man. I'm almost certain of it. Okay, a rebellion where there are no military units. You must assign each rebellion a result of to one of your towns that'll be sieged. And if you assign it to a core province, you must place a rebel town. Otherwise, it is liberated. These are not core provinces, I can guarantee you that. We will give up Breda, which is no longer a vassal of anything. I've got to refigure all of this. It's totally fucked. and in part that's because of the conquests and everything have changed everything. Okay. Now we work our way down. Let's go to Leon. I don't have tolerance as the Spaniards, do I? Okay, another rebellion. No army there. So Badajoz is now in rebellion. That gets me another cube. Okay. Burgos. 2 more bucks. Okay. That's 1. 1 more is 4. 1. And another loan. Ouch. All right, 2 dice down in Andalusia. If things go badly enough for both countries, they're going to have to accept peace. But they've got to go through the next turn, and France gets to prey on one or both of them. Oh, well, this worked out quite well for us. Northern Morocco, we have no army there, so we could reinstate Morocco as a nation. And it looks like we do. We get to convert 2 of these. Take these 2. One of them's a rebellion, however. And we'll give up the capital of Fez. Again, that's all screwy. That does not put me at a truce with Morocco. I had a peace with them and whatever, but they don't exist anymore, but now they exist again, so I could go back to war with them. Down here I get 2 dice. That's a rebellion and a pitchfork. Let's take the pitchfork there. The rebellion's going to be 1 army facing 3. I got to go find myself the combat dice. My back's beginning to hurt. Yeah, that happens when I play for any length of time. Okay. I don't know where to put my tea. Things are getting too complicated here. All right, let's see. I have 3 armies. I have a general who gives me 3 cav dice in addition to the regular dice. I don't have any cubes that I can fire that off with. This is against 1 piece. And I managed to hit it. Okay. What are my advantages? I do not have line infantry. So I take a single hit there. Huh. I'm a little worried that I'm going to be able to refresh more units than I would have been allowed to if I hadn't cheated. But I mean, it's just so impossible to figure out at this point what that number should have been. That let it be. Okay, so that's all the Spanish, all the English. I think we did the Austrians, Poles, and Turks already. I think. Like, Yeah, I rolled dice because things converted over here and the Austrians had to, yeah, okay. So, we're somewhere. Oh boy. Rebel dice. That, I believe, is the end of the turn. Well, no. Can't be. Can't be. That's the peace and rebels phase. Now we're on income and upkeep. I need to break again. This, all this die rolling, hunting down the dice and everything, this has really tired me out. Is there anything? Yeah, I don't know. Just curious whether any of these were triggered. Continental possessions. Not yet. We occupy, but we don't own or vassalize them. Okay. If we'd gotten the peace, we would have been able to declare that as a success. After a bit of a nap, I feel a little bit better, and we're ready to go into the income and upkeep. This is primarily going to be about counting up the money and not the manpower. That actually happens down here during the cleanup phase for whatever reason, which I find kind of weird. Resources that each side has, and then also the political, the ruler power, and just as a side, a little bit of prestige that gets thrown in. Finding myself running out of cubes, just not having enough, and discarding my advisors. Sure, I've got lots of, influence cubes on the map, but the idea of discarding those to get, capabilities to do things, man, that's just, it's so painful. These guys, I wish I could just get rid of. These are the problems. This one's not bad. It's central authority. I want that, right? But again, it's painfully eating up my resources. Now, in terms of the Austrians, they basically forwent their imperial authority cubes. The Poles, they're just screwed. They got cubes all over the fucking place. I want to use these though, right? I want to use them and leverage that political and diplomatic power that I have. But I don't know. It's taking up so much of my resources and my ability to rule my own country because I have good relations elsewhere. And the French, with no standing army, they do have a couple of boats on the board, so that's -1. But they have a base income of 22, -1 is 21, +2 makes it 23. Uh-oh, I got too much money. What would happen? Well, I either lose an administrative token to keep some of that extra money, and I can't do anything to prevent that money, right? I could decide no, I am allowed to decide to discard some ducats. However, this is a lot of money. I'm going to discard a cube from the administration to keep that. But my income is big, and in order, because I suppose I do this in player order, which is important for this, I have achieved high income. And France gets, I guess, 5 of these. Being the first player. And I get 2 administrative chips back. For that. So that's pretty impressive. I need to check. I mean, obviously it has to be done in player order, which you wouldn't normally think with an income phase, right? I don't know if there's some place where it says that everybody does everything in order, but it's got to be done in player order because otherwise people would tie for that. Come to the royal mess that is Spain with all their locations on the board. So what I have to figure out is they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces, I think, that are cubed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I have one of these extra. I'm not sure. I don't know why I have one of these in here, but it looks, oh, because I captured all of this stuff, that's why. It looks like I'm going to have 6 of these that I have to deal with. Now, I'm at this plus 20 bucks and plus 10 manpower here, and I don't know how this is going to work out because I don't think, I think I'm going to have more of these things covered than cubes. Like, I've got these 6 cubes that when everything's on the board, they fill perfectly fine, but they're not going to fill perfectly fine if I'm at plus 20 bucks and here. I don't know how I'm going to cope with that. It may be that there's extra pieces in total. So, because when I count these in comparison to those cubes I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. There's only 7 spaces left here. What does that fucking even mean? That feels like it means I threw a cube in, a town in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Ruh-roh! Okay, that feels like I have, I don't know what. maybe that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think I threw an extra piece on the board, and now I'm like really fucking confused. So what I have on the board is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 pieces on the board. So I think, and I don't know how this happened, I think all of these are over here, and then there's these cubes, and that I don't actually have that bonus. Now, how could this have happened? I really don't fucking know. Like, my numbers may have been wrong all along. So I think there's one of these left, and these cubes are here. And this has not actually been played. Let's recount, make sure. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nothing over here. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So there should be one small town there and no extras on the board. But this design just doesn't seem to work. Like, it works fine as long as I don't have that wraparound. But once I have that wraparound, we're going to be in some significant trouble. Now, that's 2, 4, 6 cubes in there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cubes that align with that. So that's correct. So I think this is the right setup there. I don't know. I don't know what went wrong though. And now I'm very worried that I had an improper count of pieces on the board and that, Spain's income was too high last turn or something. And now I'm worried about everyone, right? counted all the other countries that I handled, and none of them have a problem. So I think what happened was I may have conquered some spaces, had things on top of them maybe, and then they got removed, although I don't see any such case, where they might have gotten removed and dropped in there instead of put back on there, and then I removed the cubes too. I don't know. I'm of the feeling that something went terribly wrong with Spain, and I may have given them way too much income. Now, I have just gained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cubes, towns, wits, 11 towns. That means I had none, right? If I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those things on the board. No, that can't be right. That means I have nothing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is all I had. I don't know. And I don't know because the numbers aren't coming out. I'm coming out at 19 again. Oh, 7 here. Okay. Yeah, so I should have been at somewhere around 15 on income before, and now, and I don't know, I don't know what I collected, right? So I may have given them way too much money, and what was my number again? If it was 15 on income, that means this was at 7. That sounds right? So then I would have been at 4, 8, 9 military, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I discarded some random numbers, so I don't even have a counterbalancing check there. So it all comes down to I'm just fucking unable to tell a damn thing. Also hit a high income, which I guess means I score this as well and only get 3, but I also get this. Okay. Spain also has the uncontested papal control, 2 yellows. Nobody else has that many. So we're going to get prestige equal to the number of Catholic countries, which is, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prestige. Wow. -1. Okay. With a maximum of 3. All right. And they're not the emperor. Act of Crusade. Okay, Act of Crusade is page 46. I'm sorry, I'm a bit punch drunk. Whenever I sleep for short periods, well, whenever I wake up, I'm not in good shape. Crusade scoring. The Catholic realms that are committed to Crusade score 2 if they have any units in the Crusade's target area. I do. I do not, because I moved here. And there are no provinces owned by Muslim realms left there. Otherwise, they each lose 2. So I lose 2 because I moved here. Winning the war lost me 2. Great. Well, that sucks. Should have put the Crusade marker here, but I didn't think I would get that far. And, oh well. Oh, that's okay. There's actually a Muslim town there still, because Fez revolted on me. All right. Okay. If no realm is committed to a crusade at this time, the papacy would lose 2. I can remove the committed marker. I'm sure there's another point where I'm supposed to do that, but it's not going to make a damn bit of difference at this point. And now I take the rule book back over there and deal with the English, and then I am done with this little income, this part of the income segment. I still have another slice. Whatever it was I was doing with the Spaniards in terms of manpower, I totally did with the French as well. There should be a bunch of exhausted manpower in the French pool, and there's not. I will try to make that work. I don't know how. I gotta remember not to throw things in here, and I don't know why. It's this side of the table I've been doing it on, not the rest of them. I've noticed these orange units here. These are the mercenaries. Someone got 3 mercenaries for free, and I used black units instead, as if they were allied units. That was a mistake. It didn't impact anything. They went away as they should. Best guess at equalizing the forces, getting the losses correct for both the Spanish and the English, and the French, I mean, while both of them increased their national size, it's okay. One thing I'm noticing is one of these little markers here, build force limit, that's going to get really hard as your nation gets really big. You kind of want to get that thing out of the way fairly early, and no one has managed it yet. But as these nations are growing into very, very large things with way more than 9 in their force pool, that's becoming problematic. So the Turks here are at 3, 11, 12. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah. So, you know, it would have been to their best advantage to have built up this turn or whatever, except I think their growth, because of the vassal, they got this, that's 2, that's 3. They gained like 3. They might have had 9. I had the feeling, though, that they had not enough. Like, they were just short of being able to build up, but that may have been the turn before. But, you know, if you delay getting that, you may never get it, because your army may become a monster like the Spanish one is now. Jesus. Is that right? 5, 9, 16, 17. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, yeah. Yeah, that's fucking huge. Everything's been reset. Now, the Empire, somehow or another, and I don't remember how, Vent Carter has more authority. That gave me an extra little gray cube, extra military, extra money. All very good. First players moved over to the Poles. Let's draw some of these and see what they are, what the new set is. Coming up, and then we'll go to, as I have been doing, we'll go to the draw cards phase of the next round and continue on. Taking into account all the missions and everything, this is the big think period. Rise of Safavid Persia. This is going to add a new force starting in Tabriz, all provinces in Iraq, 4 provinces adjacent to Iraq, as well as on Isfahan. Oh, fuck. What is this? On Tabriz. All provinces in Iraq, down here. 4 provinces adjacent to Iraq. Well, Mosul would be an obvious there. As well as on Isfahan. I don't know where the fuck Isfahan is. But, you know, it's got to be down there somewhere. Right? Or maybe off board. Could be, yeah. There we go. Lost the roll. Fars and Herat on the India and Arabia map. And then the Ottomans will have a choice to try to stop them. Well, the player who plays this can either choose for the Ottomans to stop them, where they must declare war on Persia. Wow. Or we have this Sakulu rebellion, Add military. No, I'm sorry. It looks like military to me, but it's add pitchforks to 3 towns that are adjacent to Persia. The Ottomans may well not want to go to war with Persia. They sound like they're pretty mighty, but there might be negatives to it. What I found in the old EU is you really don't want to, but you might have to. Printing press. You gain a couple of blips and bloops, and then each player has to choose whether to gain some administrative power for each large town and provinces you own, maximum of 4, and diverse faiths token in your capital, or pay an administrative to place a religion token matching your state religion in one of your areas. That's kind of a hard call. I would go with spreading the gospel, probably. I don't think that diverse faiths is a good idea, but you can fix that with convert area, which is 2 administrative and some money. So if you have enough large towns, this might be worth allowing, free press. And then the Renaissance. Pick a matching replacement for one unpicked non-basic ID on display. All players can then pay 3 administrative if their realm is adjacent to Lombardy or Flanders and Wallonia, or 4 if not, to either research any idea in the display or draw 3 action cards. That's kind of nice. Not everybody's got the cubes, though. Like Poland, they didn't have cubes. So they're stuck in the Dark Ages. Not bad. You may then appoint Leonardo da Vinci as either your administrative or military advisor, depending on how you want him. And he's got a cost, but I think you get him for free. That's going to be his maintenance cost only. That's my guess, because usually when events allow you to do something like appoint someone, I'm assuming it's for free. But then once they're there, they do cost you. All right. I'm definitely pooped out doing this, the mechanics of the end of turn, and now facing what is really probably the biggest thinky part of the game in terms of strategic thinking. The kind that's worthwhile, right? Like, I don't consider optimization thinking, I consider that this obnoxious sort of thing that I really dislike. And since that's what most Euros are mostly about, there's no fun to them, right? You might make some kind of decision in a Euro. Well, I'm going to go big on, I don't know. If it's something like Settlers of Catan, I think rocks are really important, and I know nobody ever goes for them to begin with, but I think I can go for them to begin with. And then, luckily in Settlers, the optimization thought process is relatively cheap. There's a little bit of road building type decision making and whatnot. But when you get to any of these worker placement games and shit like that, man, it's just fucking obnoxious and toxic to my existence. And that's the problem here, is there's this balancing of these cube resources and everything, which work kind of like a worker placement type thing as far as I'm concerned, even more complicated, but it's just such a miserable experience for me to deal with. But we've talked about that plenty, so it's kind of hard for me to walk away just because there's so much exciting shit happening. And that's the bright thing. That is the bright point about this. This looks like one of those big geopolitical grand strategic games. It is telling that kind of story. It is one. It just has these other mechanisms that are irritating. And it's kind of like can I get over them and internalize the capability of them? Is the excitement of the game enough that it will let me learn this the same way I had to learn the hard lessons in wargaming or, in 18xx or whatever. Or are these just beyond my capability of coping with? It's hard to tell, because Age of Renaissance, I've never learned to be able to cope with them in an opposed setting. In an unopposed setting, until the game gets kind of late in the game and there's way too big a web, it's pretty easy. It's pretty playable. But this one starts with that big web right away. And maybe the web actually gets smaller as you go. Probably not, because it feels like it's a sort of, it's achieving the missions that's hard. But I've learned one lesson: do not play these fucking cards that have cubes on them, or be really, really judicious in their use. They are not a resource. They're not a positive resource necessarily, especially these fucking spy networks where it feels like it's almost impossible to get the cubes off there without, I could get them off and just go bone someone, but I'm giving up my already diminished resources to try to clear those up and make them work. It's just, it's a nightmare once you get some built. That's all I have to say. And normally, the concept of building something that allows you to do things feels like a good idea, right? Here, it's just a fucking trap. And I'm worried that diplomacy is likewise a fucking trap. Yeah, if you've got something and you know you're going to use it right away, that's fine. But all these fucking cubes that Poland has all over Lithuania, I'm hoping they let me convert Lithuania sometime. Make it a vassal or something. But I'm not sure they will, because my income is probably lower than Lithuania's income. Lithuania is fucking huge. And then I've got, additional heading out elsewhere. I've got to get those knights under control. That's 4 more cubes I get to play. But can I do it with this shit? I don't know. Probably not. I'm probably just boned and Poland is screwed for the game because too much diplomacy. And some of those. France, well, they seem to have recovered a little bit. They're not completely out of cubes, but I still have too many of these, and I gotta start burning those. And I gotta learn, never play those things unless I absolutely know that they will be very, very useful, because they're just too big a fucking drain on your capabilities. I mean, they strip your cubes away from you. Kind of counterintuitive shit that just absolutely demoralizes me about a game. If there are bad choices, that's one thing, but bad choices shouldn't seem like they might be good. They should be, anything that's that bad should really come with a massive warning in the rule book. The only thing that I can think of right off the bat, there are games where that kind of decision exists, and Catan has some of those traps where you put yourself in and you get the wrong types of resources or whatever, and it's not absolutely clear, hey, this is just a stupid idea and you're going to have a miserable fucking game if you follow this path. If you start out with this path, you won't be able to build a damn thing. You won't be able to build any villages or whatever if you go with all stone or something, for the most part. But the game that most comes to mind with this is an RPG, the Shadowrun RPG, where if you create certain character archetypes that are, feel like they're pretty normal, like, first of all, any non-humans, but most especially because there's an argument for like non-human elven mages and whatnot. But if you try to make a strong troll type character, you're just horrible. You're unable to get the drop on anybody in a combat, so they kill you before you can even make a move, and you have no resistance to magic, so they can pretty much knock you out of the fight with magic. Basically, that whole concept, the big hulking strong brute, maybe with advantages to strength, is absolutely worthless. And it seems like a viable character, archetype. It seems like one that would fit into the kind of gritty world that it's in. It's not. If you don't optimize either speed or magic or physical add up with speed or whatever, but basically speed is king in Shadowrun for regular combat, and you can make up for it with some tech devices, like if you're a rigger or something like that. But it's just there basically is no value to playing that type of character. And I tried one once. I had played a couple of times, so I kind of vaguely knew the system enough to know that like everybody always goes for certain types of characters, but I wanted to try something different. And it's like, yeah, they should really just tell you this is stupid, don't do this. They should also tell you it's stupid to play a non-human unless it's this. There's like, one or two types of non-humans. The only one I can think of that really works is elven mages. Because everything else, you're paying your biggest slot on non-humans, so you're like, giving away the biggest advantage you can have as a character. Working my way around the table, picking missions. The Poles keep the same missions. They picked up a man of the church. They threw their other cards away. What I'm finding is people who are getting these kind of hold cards, they're really just looking at them as burns for the most part. Unless I have a really good use for it. The Turks, they're going the route of the Mediterranean, especially with me fighting or potentially fighting Iraq. Doesn't feel like it's time to take on Hungary yet. One of my next ones is to kind of capture some of the Baltic regions and prepare myself for what really was the historical situation, the early attack on Hungary. But with the Iraq War possibly happening now, and the ability to grab some more naval power, project myself into Sicily would be a claim in Sicily possible from this. Would give me more power in the southern Italy area and open up the Italian wars thing. If that ever shows up. It's not there now. I'm assuming there's a card that'll trigger that. But maybe that's just waiting for the next era and that there's no actual power play cards available at this point. Because historically, that's when the Italian wars happened. For the French, grabbed the Subjugate the Dukes again. Threw out a card again, a spy one or something, I don't know. No, I threw out the military tradition. I already have a couple of cubes on one of those. Definitely don't need another one of them. I will hit the other three nations after I run downstairs and refill my pipe and set my game into motion again. The Spanish, because I got to be on the other side of the board for the other two. So they had everything open, so I don't have anything that really makes sense. But I figured there might be an event that'll allow me to form Spain, so I'm grabbing that one. That allows future events to happen. Most of the rest are really tough, so I took the most basic, the Discover Caribbean. It's possible. I might end up researching and going and exploring, but it's pretty unlikely. I actually drew my cards, so let me reconsider that one. I'm gonna probably take something else. I'll probably take the Italian Ambitions. I take Italian Ambitions. That requires 1A, and oh no, I do have 1A. Yeah, okay. I can take Italian Ambitions. All right. Yeah. I was gonna say, but I keep form Spain. I get rid of this one. The Caribbean, it's not going to happen. I've drawn my cards, and I don't have anything that's going to help me with that particularly. And although it's really unlikely I'll be able to deal with the Italian Ambitions, I might as well head in that direction because the Caribbean's impossible, and none of the others are possible either. Onward to the English. Kept their same options. If I win this war, I get the continental possessions. I think I may need a navy to face the Spaniards. I'm really worried though because France is going to pile on me now. I threw away a military card I got, the mercenaries. I just didn't have enough money to hold all the cards. I'm not going to go into debt to hold cards that are going to cost me money anyway. But I felt that the Naval combat card might be very, very helpful, even if I can't launch the Navy. Now, for the Austrians, I did keep the same ones. There was one other of interest, which is to get the Burgundian inheritance stuff, which Austria historically got. It was a consideration, but it would involve attacking the Spaniards, which this may be the optimal time to do so, but I'd have to formulate a claim and all kind of other stuff there. So I wanted to work more towards the things, you know, not so much towards these, but I don't want to go to war, and these don't really require that. And actually, the subjugate, if I do enough diplomacy and throw enough cubes on, I might be able to grab Hungary. Its income is less than mine. I grab it as a vassal. I have the royal marriage, so my base tax has to be just greater, and it actually is. I'm at 11, and I count theirs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think there's anything under all this crap. 5, 6, 7, 8. And then its vassals get it to 9 and 10 if I wanted to grab them as well. But I can probably just, I believe, the same way that Naples went, I can just vassalize, or while I was considering the Aragon inheritance, I can just vassalize the Hungarians themselves and just bring them into my realm. That'll give me a lot more money and power, and then I can go for, you know, possibly incorporating them completely or whatever. Got kind of an advantage with Turkey slipping in a different, you know, so far Turkey's not moving up on Hungary, so that's kind of cool. And I don't remember what else. But that, I think it's a set to go into the action rounds. Through a lot of these type of cards, including the Austrians got rid of this development card. I would love to use this, but the truth of the matter is I have one that'll help me improve my stability, and I kept the subjugate. I want to work towards that. I have a central authority here, which, you know, I don't want to commit all my cubes, and these are stuck there, so I just don't have room for another one of those cube sucking cards. That gets me to the action phase, because I've done all the other things. And what that means is it's time to load this one up. I think what happened was essentially I've divided up that second half video into 2 videos. It's probably for the best. These fucking 2 to 3 hour videos are a ridiculous thing. YouTube kind of chokes on them too. They have trouble processing them. So, you know, I'd rather keep them down lower, but that's what we have.